Hey, Jack Ellison here with the 10,000 Sales Calls podcast. Special guest, Nicole Bernardo. How are you, Nicole?
Hey, Jack. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Glad to have you on here. Nicole is the president of Cornerstone Virtual Partners. We're going to talk about virtual assistance, virtual sales support, all kinds of cool stuff today. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to sit down and chat with you and learn a little more about you and your business. Actually, I know a little bit about your business because I've used you in the past, but really want to get the word out of kind of the things you do and really tell your story. And the question I ask everyone on the podcast is, how the hell did you get into the Jan Sand business, whether directly or indirectly? How did you get into the business?
Well, first, thank you so much for your time today and having me be a guest on this podcast. So I was working for a candle manufacturer in Fall River called Kamiyama, and they're a Japanese-owned company. And Calico Distributors Callahan Sales was the broker on all of the restaurant glass and the fuel cells and all that business. So I was at the candle manufacturer for about 6 years, and then they ended up closing up shop in Massachusetts, and I was out of a job. And I had grown with that company pretty significantly, so it was disheartening that they closed. So I was looking for a job, and I knew someone who worked at Calico Distributors, and she's, hey, they're looking for a customer service person, and you already understand the candle part of things, so maybe you can come on board. So I ended up interviewing there, and I was there for about 4 years. I was in customer service inside sales role, and I learned all about food service, janitorial, some equipment. I learned about master distribution into distribution and the end users and what all that meant. And I also ended up working with 8 of the outside sales reps. They had given me 2, and I was bored. I ended up asking for more. I think I drove Al and Cliff nuts, but yeah, I was always asking for more, and I loved working with my reps and supporting them while they were on the road, as well as building the relationships with those customers.
So you guys that are outside of New England, Calico is a master distributor, I guess, in the Jan Sand. Lack of a better word, you guys carry everything, and you feed into distribution the products they need that they may not want to stock. Is that a good way to define what Calico does?
Yes, I would say so. And it was a lot of bulk orders that they shipped, like truckloads. There was truckloads that went up to Maine and New Hampshire and all over the place. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah. So again, what I want to paint here as a picture is the cool thing about working for a master distributor like that is typical distributor will say they'll carry 25,000. They'll probably end up carrying 5 to 10,000, but you guys carried a lot of different products, and you probably were pulled in different directions as far as learning different aspects of the business. Like you said, the food service side, which is a whole nother business in itself. But on the Jansen side, the complexities of even the little small things that you don't think about, but once in a blue moon, you're getting courted all the time because people see master distributors as an opportunity to make one sales call, and really get somebody that's connected to 100 plus smaller or larger Jansen distributors. So the experience you got there in 6 years was probably trial by fire and fast and furious, I can imagine, right?
It was amazing. And then the broker side was a lot of fun, because what would happen is, like, Papa Gino's, for instance, would contact the broker side of Calico, which was Callahan Sales, and they would do like private branding products, and which we would get through the manufacturer that used to make like the pizza boxes and the takeout containers and everything. So I learned a lot about the logos and the branding and all the SKUs on the broker side. And then from there, I ended up going and working for another janitorial company, which was Simplex Janitorial. I actually was basically doing my job as servicing clients and as servicing the distributors, I should say. And I got a phone call from the VP of operations saying, "You do such a great job taking care of our account. I'd love it if you could come and work with us." So I was blown away. I thought it was amazing, and it was a great opportunity for me to excel in my career. So I ended up leaving on good terms at Calico, and I went to go work for Simplex, and I was there a total of about 10 years. And that's where I learned a lot. I learned a lot about management, operations, distribution, logistics, inside sales support, the state contract business, and how to put on a really good show, a really good annual customer appreciation event and golf tournament. That was amazing. It was so nice to be with those customers.
You were doing a round robin. You were pretty much everything in operations. Is that what it sounds like there while
I
you were there?
I was customer service manager when I was there, but I was involved with a lot of things because I was assisting the VP of operations and the sales manager while I was there, and it was totally awesome.
And Simplex now is part of Envoy, right? They were acquired by Envoy. Is that the whole group there, or is Simplex still separate?
It was NextGen that
Yep.
acquired Simplex, and then I think Envoy acquired NextGen.
Yeah, there's a lot of change going on. This consolidation it's crazy. So you did that for a number of years, then you decided to break off and start Cornerstone. Is that the short of it all?
Actually, in between that time, I ended up working for AmSan as an on-the-road sales rep. That was before they were acquired by Interline Brands,
Yeah.
and that was a big change for me to be on the road selling. But I enjoyed it and I loved it, and I had a lot of the state contract business, which was like a meal ticket, if you will, to walk in the door and just say, "Hey, by the way, we're a contract holder, and this is what we have on the list." And then when the state cuts happened, that's when I ended up having to find other employment because I was a single mom at the time and I just wasn't making enough money just on commission. So that
Sure.
kind of stunk. But yeah, so I've been in the industry for quite a long time. And then I ended up leaving the industry just because I didn't want to do the miles every day. I was tired of being on the road driving. So I ended up going and working for a manufacturer in Fall River that did kitchen and bath cabinetry, which was totally unrelated to janitorial, but it was definitely something different. And there I learned a lot about more so what the struggles were for a manufacturer's rep being on the road and struggling
I'll
to
even
try to
expand
make
that,
sales.
and this is where we'll take a deep dive into it because I think the business you're doing there's virtual assistants. I guess that's the term out there. Virtual assistants abound, but getting them trained and all this stuff. But let's just paint the picture, the problem out there, the way I see the problem. And I think it even goes past Nicole, quite honestly, it goes past the manufacturers, the shippers as well. A former AmSan guy, or I guess he's Home Depot now, but Steve Berkowitz, you know him, he's got his own assistant. But the dynamics within the manufacturing, especially, and then you get in distribution, if you're doing some big travel time or big territories, the windshield time is your worst enemy, right? You're not getting, for the most part, you can make phone calls, but you're not getting proposals completed. You're not doing emails. You're doing all these things you can't do on the road other than phone calls. And coming from the manufacturer side myself, I joked, and I want you to take a deep dive into the clients you're working with and the problems. But the problem I had is when I was a regional manager for Spartan, I would jump in the car around 6:30 in the morning, and I'd jump in the car and I would be going 3 days a week over to the Boston, Rhode Island market, which is about 2.5 hours with no traffic. Everything goes smoothly, right? Well, that's 4 hours round trip. So you get there, you have to-dos, that are always coming through the email. So there's let's call it 4 hours of windshield time. I can't get anything done. I get over there, I get more kind of some good meetings in place, some good sales calls in place. Again, this could be a manufacturer or distributor rep. And then I'm driving 2 hours back, still not able to do emails, proposals, all these things I need to do that require in front of a screen time. And I joked with myself, and I wasn't joking, but I was thinking, how could I improve this? And I was just thinking of the windshield times, and I go, when the summer comes, I'm going to hire a high school kid just to drive me around. I was driving a Honda Accord back 15 years ago, and I'm just thinking this big 6'2" guy sitting in the back seat with a high school kid driving around. But I was dead serious about it, to have a workstation back there that I could just crank out those 4 hours what I do. Because when I got home at night at 6 o'clock, typically, again, a 12-hour day, 8, played with the kids. You spend 2 other hours, if not 3, wrapping up the day and the day before, and all the other stuff comes through. But that was my unique experience. And I got to imagine there's a lot of manufacturers, or most manufacturer reps that have to travel. Some territories have that issue. I got to imagine some distributor reps have that as well across the country. And again, as we look at a virtual, I'm rambling a little too long, but as we're looking at a virtual model, this is not something that Nicole has to be within an hour of you. Nicole can be anywhere in the world for you. But tell me what you're seeing with your clients, because the whole virtual reality, not virtual reality, but virtual kind of assistant is taking off like gangbusters, and more people use it. But what do you see from the clients that are calling you that they need, they want, and you're solving? What kind of problems are you solving?
So just to clarify, right, we work with manufacturer sales reps across the USA, and we support them with sales, marketing, and customer service. We're the liaison between the manufacturer, the sales rep, and the sales rep's customer. So when they
Gotcha.
can't be reached because they're on the road or they're at an appointment or on the other line, they have a direct line into contacting our team, and we're right in front of our computers. We have our phones next to us, and we have our emails up all day. A day in the life of a sales rep. My client in Florida, he's like my favorite example. He's been with us since I've been in business, about a little over 2 years. And he has the whole state of Florida with him and one other rep. And he's in a different industry, but he's still a manufacturer sales rep, and he reps 8 different lines.
Mm-hmm.
And he just could not get out of his own way before we joined Partners. Basically, he'd go on the road, he'd be answering his phone, just like you said, trying to troubleshoot with emails, putting out fires. As he's on the phone, he's got his GPS going, he's missing his exit. So and then by the time he gets in front of the customer, he's all stressed out. He probably hasn't even had lunch or breakfast, right? And he wants to try to make it home so that he can make it to his daughter's volleyball game. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like pretty cookie cutter with a lot of on the road salespeople, right? Life happens and you're trying to juggle and make a living. What we are able to do is we have a separate email for that particular client, as we do for all of our clients, with the signature of that company. And you would contact customer care at whatever the name of the company is, and we would be able to help with the sample requests and with the warranty claims. And they can contact us directly to get the status of their orders. They don't have to call the sales rep for that stuff, right? We do a marketing plans with our clients. Okay, what do you want to do in 2023? Let's break it down by the quarter. What do you want to feature? What do you want to promote? Is there any support from the manufacturer? So then we go ahead and we'll do, through Constant Contact, we'll do some marketing for them on a monthly, weekly, however often they want to market. But we also look at the analytics of that marketing. We want to see who opened what, when, and find out why, right? Now we have some leads that we can follow up on, in a sense, right? Because we can see that ABC company clicked on the icon for the glove special that's going on, or the cabinet special that's going on right now. And that sales rep wouldn't be able to do that, right? Because they're trying to be in front of the face of a customer. They're
Sure.
trying to increase business. So this particular example with our Florida client is his sales increased up to 36% last year, because he wasn't bogged down by the emails, the calls, the sample requests, the warranty claims. I even have his email. And he's like, I can't find that email. I'm driving to my next appointment. Can you grab that? Can you reply to it? Can you take care of that? And that's no problem. We got it.
That's amazing. You said 36%.
Yes.
That's insane. There's a book out there for those listeners, and I would encourage you to look at it as well, but it's called The Machine. It's a French guy that wrote it. My former boss recommended it to me, but I was like, he's a French guy. First of all, do I trust a French guy with as far as sales?
Be careful. I'm half French, Jack.
Half French. There you go. But the takeaway is, if you look at most sales professionals, again, manufacturers, distributors, whoever, I don't care what you are, what you sell, but if you look at what you spend the majority of your time on, and if you're honest with yourself, majority of sales reps who are on the road are also glorified mobile customer service reps. They're addressing samples, to your point. Here's a quote. They're doing things other than selling.
Right.
The selling occurs when you're in front of that customer, and you're banging through those conversations, you're making those to-dos to come out of it. But the whole book talks about, how do you take that stuff off? You just mentioned it, those things that are holding you back from making more sales calls, not the sales activities that come out of the sales calls. And
right.
That's what I got when we first met. That's where I got kind of excited about it, because it was a foreign topic to me. I realized the windshield time's bad. I realized having to do quotes is bad. I realized I'm trying to chase down these issues, but 36% is unbelievable. And you look at your time for your money. You're talking about the volleyball game, which you don't get those days back. But
Yeah.
how do you go about when you I guess I'm going to go into it, but how do you when you have a client approach you? This is not is there a minimum? Is there a maximum? Is there something that you say, we can do all of these things for you, choose what you want? How do you go about when someone reaches out to you to say, I need help, but I'm not sure how I need help or what you can do? What's the whole process, the thought process, walk through that?
So we go through a day in the life of that sales rep, which we refer to it as the discovery call or the discovery process. I want to learn what it is that you do during the course of a day, a week, or a month. Just what's your normal day look like? What does your calendar look like? And look at your geography, see how long it's taken you to get to each appointment. Also factor in the amount of customers you have as well as what your sales volume is and what is it that you want to achieve? What are your goals? Because it's really a partnership, Jack. It's not like we're not the virtual assistant that answers those little bots on the websites when, people want to know what the questions are and they're answering off cue cards. No offense to them, everybody's going to make a living, and there's some really awesome virtual assistants out there. We're professional virtual assistants with experience in sales, marketing, and customer service. We know firsthand what it's like to be on the road selling, right? So we learn from just listening to our potential clients where their rabbit holes are, where their roadblocks are, and we come up with processes and procedures to help them to be more efficient. And basically, they have to do a little bit of an operations plan within their own business, right? If they're a manufacturer's rep or if they've got a book of business, they need to do a little operations plan and say, okay, what can you pass off? You don't need to be doing this. You don't need to be doing that. We can take care of that stuff for you. And a lot of times when they're independent manufacturer reps, they don't necessarily have a CRM database. They might just be using an Excel spreadsheet, or some of them might even have files in the back of their trunk in one of those little crates. So maybe they are using a CRM, but we've probably got a little over a dozen clients right now, and we have 4 of them that we've set up with HubSpot. And HubSpot, I love it because it's so awesome for the manufacturer sales rep framework, where you can set up the customer information, put their multipliers in there or their pricing in there, what manufacturers they buy. You can track their sales month over month, year over year, and you can break it down to whatever the lingo is for each particular industry that might be a manufacturer's rep. And that was one of the biggest things with the Florida client was he barely knew what he was generating in sales and revenue. And then when I was doing his sales year over year for the past 3 years, and I saw he was up, the first year he was up like, I don't know, 5%, 6%. That was during COVID. And then he was up 36%. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I feel like we should be drinking champagne online. But the relief that they feel, and we have excellent references, right? The relief that they feel and the flexibility that they now have, knowing that they have a go-to person that they can count on to get things done, right? And listen, when you're a distributor or a manufacturer, you have your customer service inside people for the most part, right? But what are the chances that they're on the phone when you're calling, or they're handling other sales reps too, right? It's a lot. It's a lot for those people that are trying to take care of everybody. And we deal with it with the manufacturers that we deal with for our clients, right? We're trying to get the status of an order because maybe the online portal's not working. And we can't even get an email back because maybe somebody's out sick or they're on vacation or whatever. It's nice to have that direct line of communication and somebody that they can call. And my phone goes with me wherever I go. My team's got their phones. We've got excellent communication and training with the team. It's pretty awesome, the partnerships that form. We really do partner with our clients, because if they're not successful, Jack, we're not successful.
They're not coming back. Yeah. What is the discovery phase? So that's the session you go through, and I get that. Do you find most of your clients, as they go through that discovery phase, they start to have that aha moment that they realize, holy crap, I'm going to free up 5-6 hours a week minimum. And then they start to kind of look at it and say, well, do I trust them, first of all? Because trust is a big thing.
Sure,
that you are representing that line, you're representing that rep, so the trust factor has to be there. But do you find that once you get get that aha moment and you get a little bit of a buy-in that they maybe give you 3 projects to run with, and maybe it's only 2 or 3 hours a week, but all of a sudden they say, hey, Nicole, could you take care of this as well? And next thing you look at it 6 months later, you probably have 20 things you're doing for these guys and gals, right?
Absolutely. So it can be a little overwhelming for new clients to just hand it all off. It's like the equivalent of taking your child and putting them in the playground for the first time and just walking away. It's, oh my God, you feel like you're giving everything away. We do have non-disclosure agreements and confidentiality agreements that everybody signs. So everything's confidential. We don't share any information, give any information away. And we look to see where the bleeding is really happening, right? What's the biggest priority out of the 3 that you want us to accomplish? And we'll take care of that. So typically it's the CRM database. If they don't already have one, that'll be like the first project, right? And we'll take all of their contacts and we'll have them all coded and we'll put all the sales data in there, and then we'll rank their customers for them. And then they'll see who's buying, who's not. And then we can find out why not, right? And then we can come up with a game plan of, okay, let's attack it this way. We're going to market to these people, and this is what we're going to market to them because they're not buying that. And then we're going to do the same with this group here. And then we'll do some samples or whatever to try to build up that business. And then we can follow up on those emails and say, hey, by the way, did you get that promotion on that particular item? So we'll do the HubSpot, and then we'll move into marketing. And all the while we're actually building the HubSpot, we're learning the customers, we're learning the product, and then we end up with the customer support. And they'll email us, we'll get introduced and say, hey, by the way, we've contracted so-and-so, here's the contact information. And they don't usually say we've contracted Cornerstone Virtual Partners, right? They come out and say, we have Nicole, we have Katie, we have Spencer, we have this one, and they have their email address and their contact information so that they have a contact they can call in the event they're not available.
And it's all seamless. Like the email address that says Nicole XYZ company. It's not.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's seamless to everyone. At the end of the day, it's about productivity, right? Getting that windshield time.
Right. And our clients have access to all the email information. We use OneDrive or Dropbox, so they see all the files. Everything is very transparent. There's no secrets. They're aware of everything that happens, and we do a weekly chat with a few of our clients. We call them coffee talk, just like I used to do with the last company I worked at. And you have to. A coffee talk from Saturday Night Live, I'll never forget it. But when I worked at the last place I was at, I was responsible for creating a customer service department, and they had about 40 manufacturer reps across the country. And I said, well, they asked me, how many people do you need to hire? And I said, well, we have 4 locations and we have over 40 sales reps. I think it's probably a good idea to have at least 10 customer service inside salespeople and have them scattered across the country because of the time zones, right? You need to be able to service customers in the different time zones. So we did all the training. We did all the training and got everybody ramped up. And within 3 weeks, we were answering the phones like we've been doing it for 10 years.
That's awesome.
And it was so awesome because all the inside customer service people were paired up with the outside sales teams. So they had the relationship building going on. And then there was communication going on where, okay, this is what's on promo. This is what's on back order. There's a big project in the pipeline. Did the customer let you know? Yep, I'm working on it. I'm quoting. Okay, just so you know, we got new products coming in the spring. These are the styles. It was just that extra step of communication that the manufacturer rep was not getting. And we knew how important it was to communicate that because guess what? They're in the face of the customer. They lose credibility if they don't know what's going on with the manufacturer. So I want to adapt that same model to my company with all the manufacturers reps that we talk to and that we deal with and that we partner with. I want them to have their inside people. And I want there to be full transparency and communication so that they can grow their business.
I think it's awesome at the perspective. I think there's 2 other things I like about it. I've used you before, and the speed you got up to speed with what I was trying to do was a little more technical, but I think we talked for 15 minutes and you were done within a day. I was like, wow, that's impressive. So the things I like about this, though, again, the whole virtual movement is, if you think about it right now, if you look at it, most distributors, most manufacturers, there's a lot of still home officing going on. So whether you're in the office or not, doesn't really matter. You're virtual anyway. But the one thing with everybody looking at the economy right now and saying what's going to happen over the next year, I think it's going to be an interesting year to say the least. Some people are saying it's going to be great. Some people are nervous, but we're not looking at a full-time FTE hiring for this customer service rep. If you need one or you need a dozen, it's up to what you want. And maybe you just want to test it out and say, listen, I've got an open position, but I'm not sure I need 40 hours a week out of somebody. Hey, Nicole, could you do 10 hours a week? There's no issue there, right? It's kind of like.
No. Actually, I did a study and I actually created a really nice piece of marketing collateral to distribute. What I did was I reenacted a day in the life of the manufacturer rep, and then I did a month in the life. And it averages out to be about 20 to 25 hours a month that the rep needs to get all those things done, like tracking of the sales and the commissions. Some people need their commissions tracked, the marketing, the customer service, the sample requests, whatever needs to be done during that 30 days. Well, actually, it's not 30 days. It's probably like 20 days a month, 20 work days a month, maybe. It comes out to being about 20 to 25 hours. So if somebody wanted to hire us full time, honestly, Jack, we're not that kind of company.
Yeah.
We're really not. And you don't need to have the person full time because nobody's really calling anybody on the phone anymore. It's all email or text, right? And we do phones, don't get me wrong. We've got plenty of apps where we get the incoming calls so we know who's calling and what company they're calling for and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we know how to answer the phone. But it really doesn't need to be 40 hours. Listen, if they want 10 hours a week, that's fine. We have a few clients like that, and we have the staffing to handle that business. And it's like we're growing, and as we're growing, we're adding on more people, and it's going really well.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's an interesting stat. You'd have to share that with me because I want to put that on the show notes as well. But that going back to the machine, the book. If you look at, and again, I'm using my experience with coming from my former employer as a sales manager. If a sales rep, because they're a mobile customer service rep majority of the week, there's two sides to the house. There's basically the account management, which is one thing, and there's new business development. They both have to-dos, but if you really look at new business development, which if you really think about your sales force, and this is what I'll put a challenge out to everyone who has a sales force, take your top sales rep. How many hours a week or how many true new sales calls are they making? I think you'll be shocked that the better the sales rep is, the more money the more sales that they're generating, probably the more money they're making. They have less and less time to do what they're really good at, which is business development. And again, they're doing more account maintenance. And I think that's where your organization, I think, could really just bring some instant value into the situation really quick. Like my phone goes off. But I think that's some things that you could bring to the table automatically that say, listen, if I gave you back 10 hours a week or even 5 hours a week to let your top rep or even your newest rep go out in business development. What is that worth? What is that truly worth on an annualized basis?
Absolutely. I know they say you have to spend money to make money. And here's a for instance, okay? When I first started out in my business, I was drowning a little bit because it was just me. So I know exactly what the manufacturer rep's going through, right? They're probably feeling that they're drowning a little bit. But I learned that there's a lot of things that I did. I didn't have to be the one doing them, right? So I knew that there was some things that I could pass off to somebody else. So I know there's a dollar figure associated with what my work is per hour. And then there's a dollar figure associated with some of the other tasks that need to be done on an hourly basis. And it would actually cost me and my company more money to have me do some of those tasks where I could be taking that money or that time and focusing on growing my business is exactly what the sales rep needs to do, right? Because no one else is going to do it for them. So I couldn't grow my business because I was in the moment of triaging, basically, who's calling, what fire needs to be put out, I need to do this, I need to do that. Listen, you got to call a big timeout and just say, okay, I'm going to make a list of all the things that I do in a day. I'm going to do a list of what I do in a month, and I'm going to look at and see what I can farm out and how many hours I can free myself up. And then I'm going to focus that time on new business, or I'm going to focus that time on looking at my book of business and seeing what people aren't buying. And that's going to be my marketing plan.
Yep. Let me ask you this too, because so not having to take you full time, which is a huge benefit. The other thing I like about this whole thing too is maybe I'm over generalizing, but if you look at most of customer service reps internally, say I have a distributor, or a manufacturer, whatever it may be, manufacturer or distributor. Most of them, they're addressing, where's my order? Can you place this order? Where's my order? Can you place this order? And it's more reactive. What I like about the business of the whole virtual space, as well as virtual assistant space, and definitely you sound like you've got it dialed in across the country, but that perspective you get. So while you do not share how others do, you start to develop best practices. So someone who steps into you is really doing this really poorly. You can say, listen, I know what works on the marketing standpoint. I know what works on the CRM standpoint. I know what works on this or that or this. So that perspective, all of a sudden, from day one, you're inheriting that expertise that you developed through trial and error with your customers, as well as, every manufacturer is a little bit different. The nuances, every market's a little bit different. I'll tell a funny story. Once I was talking to someone in Boston for 30 minutes, a sales call. And this is, you'll probably laugh at this, but I was talking to someone in Boston. I was calling after that to New York City. Then after that, I was calling someone down in Virginia. And the nuances between the way you talk to someone in Boston, then going to New York, which is, Boston's a little in your face. New York's a lot in your face. Then I called Virginia, and all of a sudden I didn't shift my tone or my mannerisms. I'm talking, and the guy was like, a minute and a half into the conversation, he goes, Jack, why are you upset at me? I go, I'm not upset at you. I just got through talking to somebody in New York and then Boston, and you're unfortunately were the third one. But those best practices, but also the mannerisms as you start to deal with people. People in Florida, I've got to imagine you don't talk the same way as you do in New York City, or you operate in the same way as New York City, and they don't talk to you the same way as well.
Right.
That perspective is something I think is a huge driver that people who are looking at, how can I take something like this nationwide, and not knowing, I know I'm wasting time, but what's the best practice? I think that's something automatically you could bring to the table from day one.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I have one of my clients is in Washington, and she's a manufacturer sales rep. She has another sales rep that works with her. And I love talking to her customers because they actually ask you, how are you, Nicole? How's the weather there? Oh, that's great. They're so like conversational and so relaxed. And I even told her, I'm like, Carla, I love talking to your customers. I said, they're so sweet. Not that I don't like talking to any of the other places across the country, but you do realize it, and then you do have to be conscious of it. And that it's funny because that's one of the things that we did in our customer service department at my former employer is we actually said, listen, we can't talk Massachusetts to these people. We have to chill out a little bit, slow it down, and be cognizant of the fact that they're not as fast paced as we are in the central and western part of the country. As a matter of fact, Jack, I don't even think they look at their emails or their text messages the way we do here on the East Coast. Like, I think it's almost like an OCD thing. At least it is for me. Looking at my phone constantly.
I think there's something to do with the weather as well. I think they have a lot of better weather than we do majority of the year. So maybe that's the reason we're always looking down versus out. But so let me ask you this, and let's play devil's advocate overall. But if you had to look at clients you're doing business with now and clients you're talking to now, like there's always, well, to your point earlier, we can't afford it. I don't trust them. I don't do this. What are the top 3 oppositions you come across? And then what's your counter to those oppositions?
Well, the first initial comment I want to make is that it can be a little overwhelming for someone to give up something that they've been technically dealing with on their own or privately for so many years, right? It's like teaching an old dog new tricks. So we try to make it be as relaxing and reassuring as possible, so to speak. We don't put pressure anybody. We can say no too. I had a client that I said no to, potential client that I said no to, and I'm like, we're just not that type of a company. You'd be better off paying that current person to do that lead generation for you, because that's not where our specialties are, right? We want to stay with what we do well. Right. So we may say, look, we give them the rate and we say, okay, this is what we can do for you. And if they're skeptical or they want to think about it, fine, we give them their space. And then they come back and say, okay, well, all right, why don't we start with this one first? No problem. So they test the waters with us, and that's great,
Sure.
and that's fine. Because listen, if they're not comfortable, it's not going to work. You don't want to have any resistance, and I'm not going to push or rush anybody into it. We actually had a client that said, "You know what? Let's just ease into this," and that's exactly what we're doing. And they're so happy with what we've done so far. Their team is really happy, and they're really excited about it. So I just know that there's going to be more coming down the pipeline because we've done the first step. Okay, how do you want to do your marketing plan now? And they're going to be like, yeah, that's something you can take care of. I don't have to worry about it or think about it. That's pretty much it. Then again, I had a brand new client we just onboarded last week that said, after I told her what I was all about and everything, she said, okay, 10 hours a week. It's going to be 10 hours a week. And I was like,
Capped. Easy
okay,
enough.
awesome. And of course, I was like jumping up and down in the background, right? But I was like, wow, this is really awesome. But we have clients that do the minimum really is 5 hours a week right now, and then we have some that do 10, some that do 20, and then there's some that kind of goes by the task, right? And they send us as it happens, and we take care of it as it happens, and then we just track our time.
Nice. So if you had to go through again, let's go through, and I appreciate very much the time today, but the skill sets that you bring to the table. So I heard CRM. So if someone's engaged or not engaged with the CRM, you can bring that to the table. I heard
Absolutely.
definitely assistance with marketing plans. I heard assistance with demos, or not demos, what am I saying? Apples,
Mm-hmm.
getting those out from, come from to
Requesting
where they
them,
need to
right?
go.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at data analytics to see where, I guess I call them white spaces or business opportunities to grow into new
Yes.
areas. What other features do you guys do any order entry? Do you anything like that at all?
Well, a lot of times with the order entry, I think it would be like samples for the most part. Orders can be a little tough because if it's within the organization for their own records, the rep wants to track their orders and their invoices,
Mhm.
and they have a portal to put that data in. That's one thing. But placing orders with the manufacturer can get a little scary because you don't want to be liable. We don't want to be liable for entering an
Sure.
order and it ends up getting shipped and it was wrong,
Gotcha.
unless you're really astringent with the order acknowledgement and someone's really looking at that and signing off on it. So we typically don't get involved very much with the order stuff. However, we do learn the portals for placing orders, and we put together presentations and we'll do webinars with the client's customers, and show them how to like onboard. We do a lot of customer onboarding. So we'll say, okay, this is the login credentials. We're going to log in together and we're going to show you how to put your first order in, and we're going to tell you all the little idiosyncrasies and bells and whistles about the portal. And then we have a PowerPoint that we put together that you can refer to in case you forget or in case you need it because you haven't put an order in maybe in a couple weeks. We'll put together like a PowerPoint presentation for training. And not only does it help our clients' customers, but it also helps our team too, right? If our team has to go in and do something, we've got the resources and the process and procedures in the client's database so they can refer to them.
Nice. What about scheduling of is proactively reaching out, scheduling calls, scheduling meetings for the rep? Are you taking their calendars and running with their calendars and saying, hey, listen, I'll help you
Yes.
populate that thing as much as you want or as little as you want?
Yes, we have one client that has us doing scheduling right now.
Nice.
hmm
Well, where can I guess the group, and again, thank you for the time today, but where can the group find you? I guess I'll have notes, but what's the website? Let's throw that out there, and then what's the best way to reach you?
It's cornerstonevirtualpartners.com. And my email is Nicole at cornerstonevirtualpartners.com, and it's Nicole. And yeah, I can put my information out on your little website there, and I'm already out there too, but I don't
Yeah, you're out
mind.
there.
I can even answer any questions anybody has. If anybody wants to just chat and talk about different things or run some scenarios by me, I'm happy to help in any
Okay.
way.
And you guys are nationwide. You've got a team you're developing out even further. I've worked with you. So again, you've done a great job for the work you've done for me as well. So I appreciate that as well. But is there any of the closing comments you'd like to share with the listening audience to get out there and just make it clear? Because I think as we expand and the world changes and we really want our sales reps out there, whether it be manufacturers, distributors, whoever it may be, in the business of cleaning, out of the business of cleaning, indirectly, directly, whatever it may be, I think the name of the game is really taking that windshield time and reducing as much as possible, but then taking those things off the plate that are not really directly driving sales. And Is there anything you want to share on that front? One last thoughts or comments that we could catch before we leave?
Well, first of all, I think we should free up their windshield time by having us take care of everything, all those little things for them, should I say, so that they can listen to your podcasts, Jack. That's
You
number
are a sales
one.
professional.
That's number one. Number two, we want to be able to help the manufacturers live their dream, right? And increase their business so they can enjoy life and take care of their families, their children, go on those vacations and so on. And every one of our clients feels like they're number one. That's our mission, and that I will say it until the cows come home, because it's true. I mean, whatever they need, whenever they need it, we make it happen. And that's one thing that's really important to me.
Well, I think if you can come out there and knock it out of the park, even half of what you showed with that 36%, even half of that, the ROI proves itself. This is a no-brainer in my opinion. But I thank you, Nicole, and I think I'm interested to see the results come out of this. And I would urge people to do a discovery call with you, to reach out and see, what if I did this? Because I think
Absolutely.
there's a lot of fluff out there to take off a lot of these manufacturer reps that could drive them. Again, you got to raise expectation on sales, but I think you could do some great things. So thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you, Jack. It's been a great pleasure hanging out with you.
All right. Have a good year, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.